Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Chandler, and we're doing our end of regular season recap for our fantasy football challenge, where I opened up a 2025 Panini Score Hobby Blaster Box and used the cards that I pulled to draft a fantasy football team. So here's our team at the end of the regular season. We have Jackson Dart. We actually have running three quarterbacks, which is kind of crazy. If you think about that, I feel like most people that actually know fantasy football don't do that. I have them running Jackson Dart, Caleb Williams, and Sam Darnold. But the reason is because I didn't draft a lot of good running backs. So I actually have a pretty solid wide receiver core with George Pickens, James Williams, Michael Pittman, who wasn't great recently, but for he had a pretty good stretch for week 7 to 9, which I did need um, his performances out of. Again, other than that, he's kind of boomer bust. But I didn't need his solid 10-point performances kind of in the middle of the season. But yeah, I'm running Jackson Dart, Sam Darnold, Caleb Williams, but my wide receiver core, Michael Pittman, Keenan Allen was also solid for a while. Um, Towards the beginning of the year. Well, I think let's see, did I have him at the beginning of the year? I don't even remember if I had him at the beginning of the year. Let's see. That's so I added him September 10th. Yeah, so I think I had him pretty early. Um, but he did have a couple okay performances. I did put him in, I think, for week 7. And I think at this point, even like a 16-point performance was good. So, um, yeah, I have Mike Evans as my wide receiver as well. But as we all know, he got injured week 3 and has been out for basically the whole season. But I decided to stash him because, again, he was one of my better drafted wide receivers. But for my running backs, he had pretty bad uh, pick selection for running backs. I didn't have a lot of starting running backs, like first string running backs, other than Travis Etienne, who's been kind of my reliable. He's been super reliable the entire season, which is good because he was what the one, I believe, numbered card I pulled of him. So let me pull him up on my thing. I had a blue, like, I don't know what this blue parallel card is, but it is 40 out of 185. So it's the only number card that I pulled. So I consider that my best card of the blaster box, and he's definitely my most consistent player, scoring around, I'm assuming like average around like 15, 16. A couple of duds here. Again, this is kind of crazy. They played Tennessee week 13, and they scored 25 points, and he only managed to hit not even 5 points, fantasy points. But other than that, he's been pretty solid. Kind of 17, like mid teens, and then had this bad stretch. Obviously, playing against Kansas City, Seattle, and the Rams. But other than that, he's kind of averaged 14, 15. And then recently, in the past couple weeks, kind of popped off for 20 and 30 points. So Travis Etienne, I would say, is my MVP of the season. When I needed him most, he would kind of put up a solid average, 13, 14 points. Um, I did pick up Sam Darnold from waivers throughout the season. Let me see what his history is. I added him on October and then dropped him, I think, 2 weeks or a week after. And then someone else picked him up, Packers 50, and then I added him again towards the late half of the season. I did see, I believe, his rest of the season schedule looked pretty strong. So I picked him up just in case because, again, I don't have any good choices for running backs. I think I had all second, third stringers, and my wide receiver core is pretty strong, so I did pick up a third quarterback. Jackson Dart was also not on my team at the start of the year. I did trade him with Bako Spanks for Marvin Harrison, who again was a high pick for me, but he kind of underperformed on a week to week basis. So I figured I had a strong enough wide receiver core that I didn't really need Marvin Harrison Jr. Which one is that? 10-26. Let's get this game. 10-19. So it'd be after the Green Bay game. So basically, after his bye, I traded him. But before that, he had basically he had a good week 1 and a good week 4. But it's basically boomer bust with Marvin Harrison Jr. 15, 3, 5, 15, 11, 4, and 6. So I had enough good wide receivers that Marvin Harrison was kind of burning me with the boomer bust, and it was more bust than boom, I feel like. So I did decide to trade him for Jackson Dart, even though I had two QBs at the time, because I did see Jackson Dart's strength of schedule for the rest of the season, and I did like the matchups opposed to hoping that Marvin Harrison would have a big game, and he was kind of sabotaging my teams, and I think he was losing me some games at some point, especially because week 5 through 8, I was on my losing streak. I think I lost all 4 games. So at that time, he would have been, if he was on my roster, my starting team. He was kind of losing me points here. Let's see how he did do the rest of the season. So I would say this is a good trade for me, right? He had a good first game back against the probably the weakest defense for wide receivers in 19 points, but then I have no idea what's been happening to him, but he's been out for 2 games, came back for 1, and out for 2 more. So I would like to say that I won the trade there. Let's check out Dart. So I got him what was he, week 9, right? Or 10, right? Because I think so here he had 26 points, which is crazy for his first week on my team. Out for 2 weeks, but then I used him last week as well for 23 points. So again, I think I got more use out of Jackson Dart despite him being out for 2 weeks and out for 3 weeks, I guess, right? For 2 weeks and a bye, and then one underperforming week. But the week that I did use him, which was week 10 and week 15, he did score over 20 points. So I will take that as a win, especially like, I didn't want to have Marvin Harrison just kind of risk my wins with his boomer bust performances. So that's that. Let's see. Let's go back here. Let's do our weekly recap. So we won week 1, feeling good because, so again, going into the season, I was only projected to win 1 game. I was the lowest graded draft from all the teams here. Mostly because I think I drafted way above the projected draft position. Because again, my teams, the people that I pulled in my blaster box were, it was kind of like all top players and then all like bottom of the barrel. Like I had like Nico Collins, I had Malik Neighbors, I had um again I had Bijan Robinson, which was crazy, but again I drafted like fourth, I think, or fourth or fifth in the position out of 10. And I got Trey McBride, Josh Allen, but other than that, like my running backs were like bottom of the barrel. My wide receivers were okay, but like quarterbacks and tight ends were like, again, like it's either like hit or miss. Like I could have drafted again Jackson Dart or C.J. Stroud. I had on my team for a little bit, um, but Josh Allen was my only like premier quarterback. So I did, and because I only had one tight end in Trey McBride. I think I had Trey McBride and AJ Barner, who I believe, if you look at AJ Barner, I don't think he had um, a crazy season other than 1 week. I remember because I had Sam Darnold playing. I think he had one crazy week, a week 5, but other than that, he's been like basically kind of non-existent. Um, so obviously, I couldn't, playing by the rules of my challenge where I had to draft players for that I pulled for their cards on the blaster box. There's no way that I could have AJ Barner as my starting tight end week in, week out. So I had to go with Trey McBride on week 2. And because of that, I drafted a lot of players above the average draft position, and my draft grade was terrible. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Um, Injuries, important games. Let me see if I go to my league. I don't think they do the draft grades anymore, but you can go back to the beginning or like the beginning recaps that I've done. But I was basically my draft grade was a D plus, and I was the lowest draft grade, and I was projected to win only 1 out of my 15 games this year. So we started off good with a week 1 win. There we go. So I was kind of happy with that. Again, regardless, if I won week 1 and lost the rest, it would be basically whatever was projected. So anything more than a week 1 win is just icing on the cake. Week 2, I did lose by a lot, by almost like 30 points there. I did win week 3 against Mrs. Nesbitt. So I was feeling good. So this is my second win of the season. And because of that, I was already higher than the Yahoo projected winnings for my season, right? So I was only projected to win once throughout the entire 15-week season. So winning twice within 3 weeks made me feel good. And that's where the winning stopped because weeks 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, a 5 loss streak in a row. None of these were really close. I think I was actually projected to win week 5 against Dario Jane. I was actually projected to win by 20 points, but that one did not turn out well. We can kind of scroll through this here. but basically I had a lot of people underperforming. If we go to matchups and then we go to, well, I can't click that. All right, we'll just go back to week 5. We'll click it through here. But I believe a lot of my players underperformed. I was super upset about that one because again, at this point, I was kind of I was 2-2 at the end of week 4 coming into this, and I thought that I would get into the winning column again by beating an easy opponent. Sam Darnold had a monster game, almost 30 points. But let's see here what happened, what went wrong. Travis Etienne a little bit under, Trey McBride a little bit under, but other than that, I mean, it wasn't terrible. I don't think my team did that bad. Nico Collins hit above his average. Marvin Harrison was just like again one of his few good weeks. Zach Charbonnet hit above his average, but I think just my team average as a whole, again having some middling running backs and Zach Charbonnet, who was still splitting his workload at the time. I wasn't projected to win. You know, it's not like my original projection was supposed to be like 100 or whatever, or 100, 120, 130, but he had a huge game from Krosky Merritt. Again, which is crazy. Again, it's crazy that I lost this because my quarterback did way better than his. Um, but I guess he had a large gains from Rashad White, Ja'Cory Merritt. But again, he had a negative 3 points from the Seahawks defense, and he still managed to beat me. So it was a real disappointing loss for me. And then again, that's kind of in the middle, or yeah, like at the start of my 5 loss streak, weeks 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And to be honest with you, at the end of week 8, I did do a recap, and I did it late because I was just kind of demoralized. To this point, I was 2-6, and I was like, one, I don't get a lot of viewers as a new channel, but I did want to do this challenge. I did find that opening up a blaster box, a hobby blaster box, and making drafting a fantasy football team out of it was a fun idea. The editing wasn't that bad on a week to week basis, but after getting my butt kicked for 5 weeks in a row, I was not motivated to make these videos, especially not the quarterly recap, because the whole quarter was just losses. It was just 4 losses in a row, weeks 5 to 8. So yeah, it was feeling a bit down. I kind of thought that my season was going to be a loss. But got to push through. I mean, might as well play through it, especially since I put $50 on to enter the league. So to go into third quarter, I ended up, I guess, to kind of make up for my second quarter loss streak for 5 losses. I ended up going 4 wins in a row for the third quarter. Navy SEALs, Baco Spanks, and Bear Down, Miss Nesbitt. I ended up winning all 4 of mine here. And we'll go to, which one is it? This one. So after getting my butt beat week 8 and losing the largest margin, I ended up going week 9, 9, 10, 11, 9, 10, and 11 as the largest margin of victory, scoring 40 points, 47 points, and 40 points over my opponents. So that was good. That kind of brought the life back into me, right? After losing 5 in a row, I ended up winning 4. But again, obviously, it still kind of felt bad after week 9 and 10 because I had a losing record. But by week 11, I did feel good, and then week 12 was just the icing on the cake. And then kind of closing out the last quarter of the season, kind of came back to earth. I lost against J Town, but I believe that was against Patrick Mahomes and a monster game from CeeDee Lamb as well. So that one was kind of expected. I was kind of expected to lose that one by a large margin, so it wasn't too hurt about that one. But I did close out the season with 2 more wins against Diary of Jane, getting revenge for my week 5 loss, and then winning again against 2005, another revenge game because Team 5007. I said 1005. Sorry, I can't read right now. Team 5007. This was also a revenge game. Not only them being the first place, but remember going back to the draft, I had to select Trey McBride round 2 because he was my only tight end, which means that round 3 I was going to select Josh Allen, but Team 5007 was the pick before me in the 3rd round and swiped Josh Allen. And then similarly, by I think round 4 or 5, I guess the way 5 is how it works. By round 5, he was 1 pick ahead of me again, and he drafted Breece Hall ahead of me. Brees Hall, I did have the memorabilia patch card that I pulled from the blaster box, and he's on the Jets, which is my real life team that I follow. Unfortunately, I'm a Jets fan, so I really wanted Brees Hall, and he stole that from me as well. So it's good to kind of beat him by a large margin here. We'll go back to this where I end the season with a 64.82 margin of victory, which is crazy that it wasn't even the largest margin of victory over the season because week 14, Jesus, an 84-point margin of victory. That is crazy. Um, yeah, so I mean, I guess so. If you look here, despite having a losing streak from week 4 to 8, um, I had the largest margin of victory week 1 and week 3 and week 9 and week 10 and 11 and 15. That's a lot. Like again, I did end up with a winning record of 8-7, which I guess is good. But again, like by the end of week by the end of week 8, it was pretty crazy that I thought I had a lost season, 2-6. But again, I do have a some pretty strong performances. And it's not like I'm winning, 100 points to 40, right? Like I'm actually scoring a decent amount. Well, I guess this one, 100 to 62. That one might be a just kind of a lucky one, but I mean, I'm kind of scoring on these ones. I'm scoring 120, which I guess I get are kind of average for especially people like Team 5007. But for me, again, like with how my draft kind of shook up, I'm pretty happy with how my team performed. So again, I did end up with a winning record, and I did make it to the playoffs. Again, I do have to go against Team 5007, my nemesis. This one is looking a little bit closer than last week's. Go back to last week again. I beat him by 60 points, but I can't bank on him losing due to a 3-point Justin Jefferson game and a 2-point Jake Ferguson game. This one's gonna be a lot closer. I'll give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek. I did leave Sam Darnold and Zach Charbonnet, the teammates on Seattle, on the bench. I wasn't too confident in Sam Darnold coming into the day against the Rams in Week 11. He only scored 8. Um, he did have 2 interceptions as well, and he still scored 21 points, which is kind of crazy. So I'm recording this on Thursday night, as you can see, right? Because none of my other players have played yet. So I do have 3 quarterbacks. Again, I explained earlier because my running back situation was kind of shallow, and I do have a good wide receiver core. So it's either Jackson Dart, Sam Darnold, Caleb Williams. Not too confident Caleb Williams against Green Bay. He scored 15 points just 2 weeks ago. I'm not feeling too confident in that. So I think despite Jackson Dart going against Minnesota, I do have some faith in him to get a decent amount of points. And, he faced Philly and Denver, which are hard defenses as well, and still managed to score almost 30 points here. So I'll put my faith in Jackson Dart. Hopefully he can get me to the finals. Again, some risky plays here. George Pickens, again, kind of boomer bust. Kind of bust the last 2 weeks, but we'll see what he can do. He's been good to me earlier in the season with some 20-point games. Travis Etienne, again, my MVP. He's been solid 20, an average of 17 or so points, other than his tough stretch here against some hard defenses. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard. He's got some big hitters, 20 points from Josh Allen. He's got Christian McCaffrey. Again, Justin Jefferson could pop off. So we'll have to see. But I mean, regardless, I'm just glad to make it to the playoffs. I don't really know what is the prizes here. So if I win third place, I'd get my money back. I spent $50 to enter the league, but I'm just happy with how my seasons turned out to get a winning record 8-7 after having a 5 loss streak in the middle of my season. I would never have dreamed this would happen. So thanks to all the dudes on my team who've carried me to the playoffs. Um, it's been a roller coaster of emotions, but we'll see how we can do. And I'll have another recap after the playoffs are over and after the regular season and after the Week 17 NFL regular season ends, and see what the result of that is. And I guess the last people I'd like to thank, other than Travis Etienne and Trey McBride and George Pickens, would be to all the viewers. So thanks to everyone who's kind of watched my content on this fantasy football challenge, from I guess the weekly YouTube shorts and the quarterly recaps, which have always came out late. But yeah, I appreciate everyone watching. I just started my YouTube channel this quarter, 2025, but I've always had these ideas. I thought it'd be really fun. I like opening up cards. If you look at my channel, I do open up a lot of non-sports cards. I open up a lot of Pokemon and Lurkana and Magic the Gathering as of recently. But I'm hoping to do this with baseball next season, even though I'm a Mets fan and I hate that Edwin Diaz went to the Dodgers and Pete Alonso went to the Orioles. But I'd like to open up some baseball cards and maybe play some fantasy baseball um, next year. So stay tuned for that as well. But yeah, thanks to everyone who's watching. I don't have a really big channel, so I appreciate all the views, even if you stop by every so often. So thanks for that, and we'll see you guys in the playoffs. Bye.